ख़वातीन और हज़रात, वेलकम बैक टू अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ थॉट बिहाइंड थिंग्स। आज हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं एक बहुत ही ख़ास मेहमान, समवन आई हैव बीन मीनिंग टू स्पीक टू फॉर अ वेरी वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम, एंड बिकॉज हम लाहौर आ रहे थे तो वी जस्ट थॉट के विल ट्राई आवर लक, एंड एज फेट वुड हैव इट, वी वर एबल टू टाई समथिंग अप। आज हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं अब्दुल रज़ाक दाऊद। ही इज़ द फाउंडर ऑफ DESCON. ही इज़ फ्राम द फेमस दाऊद फैमिली, जिसने पाकिस्तान के अंदर बड़े बड़े मेजर इंडस्ट्रीज़ जो सेटअप किए हैं। पाकिस्तान का जो ओवरऑल इकोनॉमी है उसमें बड़ा एक मेजर किरदार है. He had a huge focus on exports and was really looking at Africa, and I really want to talk about that because that was a very interesting policy that a lot of other people have missed. And जब मैंने उसको एक्सप्लोर करना शुरू किया तो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग एरिया है, जिसमें पाकिस्तान अगर एक्सप्लोर करे तो बहुत ज़्यादा ग्रो भी कर सकता है. सर, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर बीइंग पार्ट ऑफ द शो.
Thank you.
मैं थोड़ा सा स्टार्ट करूँगा, जस्ट ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड अ लिटिल बिट अबाउट वेयर वर यू बोर्न, एंड टेल मी अ लिटिल बिट अबाउट योर अर्ली लाइफ.
Okay, I was born in a very, very small village in Kathiawar. That is today Gujarat.
So, India?
In India.
Right.
And very, very small village, no electricity, no running water, nothing. And that was the hub of the Memon community. There, Dorajis and all the others. So we spent our lives there. Basically, we were all traders. So all the men would be out of the village, and the village consisted of elder people and children.
Interesting.
And comes Pakistan, partition comes. We pack our bags and come to Karachi. Settle down in Karachi.
And what sort of, so again, this is the early 40s. And so what did trading mean at the time? What were these men doing that were going out to trade?
We were trading as a family. My grandfather went bankrupt in the crash of 1929. He never really recovered, and he died. So his sons, my father and his brothers, they were looking for jobs anywhere in India, primarily in sales. And then under the eldest brother, Ahmed Dawood, they all got together, and then they went to Mumbai and started the yarn business, selling cotton yarn.
Right.
And from there, we built up. We had a ginning factory near our village. We grew to a point where we had a ghee factory in Calcutta. So we had just started to get into industry when partition came. The family moved over. My father stayed back for 1 year over the 1948. To sell off all our assets in India. We had a few shops, and then we had this ghee facility in Calcutta. So I was in Calcutta there, and my sort of first formal education was in some school in Calcutta.
Interesting.
Then at the end of 1948, we came to Pakistan.
In Karachi?
In Karachi, settled in Karachi.
And in Karachi, you had absolutely no base. There was no business interest there at the time.
No, nothing.
You really had to start from scratch.
Yeah, we had to start from scratch. We got a house in Karachi for the house that we gave up in India. So we started to settle down. The smart thing that my uncle did, Ahmed Dawood, he's told the family, you stay in Pakistan, I'm off to London.
Right.
Because he saw a new country being coming up. Now Pakistan was born. And so he went to England to start supplying textiles from Manchester.
To Pakistan.
to Pakistan, because there was such a dearth of yarn, cloth, whatever. So he settled in Manchester. While he was there, then he said, okay, he and my father and the elders took a decision कि हमारे जो जितने भी बच्चे हैं ना उनको भेजो England.
Right.
So 8 of us were sent to England.
You and your cousin. So your brothers
my
and your
brother and my cousins.
right.
Then the others came back, and there was really 5 of us who stayed on in one English public school out in Yorkshire, a very rugged school, and I must say that school really developed us because we were on our own. You had to play rugby. You had to settle with the English boys. And looking back, I think it was a good decision.
Were there a lot of Pakistanis there at the time in England?
We were we were the first few Pakistanis that went to England, and it was only in the late 50s that we started seeing the first immigrants coming in, and they were coming in all the time, and yes, it was. You could see them all coming in, and then you could see the progressive development of the immigrants. दुकानदार बने, they went into shops, फिर उन्होंने trading किए, फिर उन्होंने industries में गए. So you could see, we were in school, so ours was a different thing.
Were you visiting Pakistan a lot? I mean, this is a different time. The travel industry is not that big. So would you be coming to Pakistan every year, or was it?
We would be coming fairly frequently, but most of the time we were in England. And then I myself, I was not a very studious person. I love sports.
Really?
I love sports. And a rugby player and a cricket player and this player and that player. And I was so engrossed in sports, and I never paid attention to academics at all. With the result that I failed my O-levels. I had to repeat it. Fine, no problem. Didn't bother me. I was a sportsman.
Right. Was it very expensive, or was this essentially publicly funded? The education, was it very expensive?
No, in those days, not at all. Not at all.
So it was just a waste of time, no money.
Yeah. So I was not very much academic minded. And one particular day, it happens. These things, I don't know whether other people believe it, but I was sitting in the bus coming from school, and my cousin was with me, and I don't know what it was, but I was looking outside the bus window, and I suddenly saw a flash. And I said to my cousin, "Did you see that lightning?" He said, "What lightning?" It's a very clear day. How can you have a lightning tonight? It was Maghrib time. I said, No, but there was a flash. And he said, "Oh, you're dreaming." So I looked at him and I said, "From now on, I'm going to work. I'm going to study, and I'm going to start my life differently." And that was it. Just that one moment, I went back And then that was it.
Complete switch.
Switch. Sports, do a little bit. Now it's academics, academics, academics.
How old were you at the time?
It happened in September 1961. So I was about 17. And that changed my life completely.
And so you did your OA levels from the same school?
Passed the O levels, passed the A levels, went to university, did play rugby at university, but it was no longer that.
The primary drive.
It's not so absorbing as it was before.
Right.
And then my life really changed when I went to America for my MBA.
Before the MBA, your education in your university was for engineering?
Engineering. I was doing mining engineering at Newcastle. And because ironically, in those days, you had to have permission from the state bank. So they would remit the money. And they would not remit money if you did mechanical engineering, civil engineering, because they were available in Pakistan.
Oh, I see.
Those programs that were not available in Pakistan, like metallurgy, engineering, mining engineering, chemical engineering, but if you did mechanical, civil, no. So I said, okay, I'll do mining engineering.
Was that something of your interest, or was that something that you...
No, it was interesting. Engineering did interest me. Little did I know that engineering, how it would help me later in life. I hadn't a clue. But, you have these things are stored in life for you. You don't know. When you did something 10 years earlier and now you say, oh, I see, now I understand why Allah made you do that.
Never a moment wasted, right?
That's right. That's right.
Interesting.
And, but the experience of the MBA, the experience of American education, the experience of being in New York, it was absolutely transforming. I loved that program, got absorbed in it completely. And by the time it was over, I was ready to come back and get into business.
How was New York at the time? I mean, very different. How was New York at the time?
Columbia University at that time was, Harlem was a pretty rough place, much rougher than today. America was going through militancy. You had the Vietnam War. Students were out on the streets. Columbia had the famous strike, the famous Columbia University strike of 1968 was there when I was on campus. So it was a very rebellious time. Columbia, Berkeley University, University of California, Berkeley, they were at the forefront of the students' movements. So it was a very difficult time. Martin Luther King had been assassinated. Robert Kennedy was assassinated. And that was the time when the African Americans were really pushing for their rights. So we were seeing it all on television of how they were all the civil rights movement in America. So there was
a lot happening there.
There was a lot happening. The 50s, America was peaceful. The 60s, America was volatile.
And as a Pakistani, I mean, really when all of these sort of race conversations are going on, sometimes, or at the very least, even these days, when you're looking at Black Lives Matter and a lot of those movements happening, the conversation then really begins to expand and a lot of the other nationalities start to get alienated as well. How did you feel as a Pakistani? I'm sure there weren't a lot of Pakistanis there, and probably not a lot of Asians.
No, there were not. Very, very few Pakistanis at that time. I was, during my time, there was no Pakistani in the business school. But Pakistanis had just started
Coming to New York overall.
Going to American universities.
Right.
Yes, they had just started, and we and one other person were one of the first few. My cousin went to Harvard. My other cousin went to Northwestern. Then my other cousin, they started going to Berkeley. And many other Pakistanis started to move. It was good. It was the beginning. We're all understanding a different world. It was overall, the thing that got me the most was I never realized what hard work was until I went to America. Real hard work.
Not even in England, even though, it's not like your family was there or you had this sort of a safety net.
In England at the universities there, you never had that kind of pressure.
Academically?
Academically.
Right.
No. In America, it was a totally different.
Like real sharks are really...
And I'll tell you how.
Yeah.
When you registered at the university, they gave you an envelope. And it said on the envelope, do not open until you have registered.
Right.
Okay? So I registered, and then they gave you this envelope, and I took it to my room and just threw it on the bed, and American bump propaganda. So finally I opened it. It was the assignment for the next day. I said, what? The assignment for the next day in class, the first day of class. I skimmed through it, went into class, and the professor holds a deck of cards and pulls one out. Will Mr. So-and-so come out and present the case? And then he went out and he starts writing on the board and this and that. And the debate starts, the business issues of that company. It shook me. Okay, yeah, what is this? And that's the way Americans work. I asked a very stupid question to the librarian. I said, when do you close? She says, close? The library's open throughout the night. Come whenever you want. And then you're in the library, you're walking home, and at midnight there'll be somebody jogging, somebody doing this. It's a different world. I didn't see that.
It's always alive, it's always awake. It's, yeah.
Absolutely. And funny thing was, I absorbed it and I loved it. This is the life you want. Being active, being busy all the time, so that's what America really taught me.
And what year did you come back?
I came back in 1968.
And so, before we move forward, run me through a little bit about what was happening while all of you boys were away from 61 to 68, because now your essentially parents are figuring out, not just 61 to 68, you've been out for a while.
Yeah, we went in 1950, came back in 68.
68, right? So 18 years. Meanwhile, someone is setting up some sort of structures here. I'm assuming that was your
My uncle, my father, and my other two uncles, all this while they were building up our business. And my uncle particularly was a very, very, very aggressive man. He could smell an opportunity a mile away. And so we went into Dawood cotton mills, we went into Borowala, we went into Lawrencepur, we went into Kanafuli, and our business here, while we were away, the family was busy building up.
And it was mostly textile?
No, textiles, paper, and then by the time 68 came, we started construction of our fertilizer plant.
Right.
The paper mill was in East Pakistan, and also we put up a viscose rayon unit. We had a chemical plant. We had jute. We had shipping. It was a period. That period was, I would say, the D period when Pakistan industry really grew. And the Amin family put up the national refinery. So by the time 68 came, what was it? Our Pakistani entrepreneurs had moved from the primary industry of textiles and now started to go into the secondary chemical plants. The Seigels went into the Kalashaka complex. We were in Dawood Hercules. Amin family put up the national refinery. We had a viscose rayon plant in East Pakistan. And that was going when the debacle in East Pakistan took place. And then back in Pakistan, nationalization. And then we were...
The curve changed.
Yeah.
So tell me about you coming back. And it's 1968. What's Pakistan like at the time? And what do you join straight up coming back?
When I came back, Pakistan, it was the end of what they call the decade of development. And the anti-Ayub Khan movement had just started. People were upset with the way the development was going on. And then Mahbub ul Haq made that statement that 80% of business is controlled by the 22 families. So the 22 families became a target for politicians.
Were you guys part of one of those 22 families?
Yeah, we were in the top few. Yeah. So we were getting a lot of the flap on that. So when I arrived, it was interesting. My father said, I want you to work under me in Karachi. And I was absolutely horrified. I said, I don't want to work under you. And I don't want to work in Karachi. We had just built our air-conditioned building. I said, I don't want to work here. And I don't want to work under you. And he was very upset. And these arguments, this went on for a few weeks. And then I remember I told him, I said, Father, why don't you allow me to find my place in the sun? I will never grow if I am under your shadow. You're too big a man. I'm too small. I don't want to be under your shadow. Just let me go and let me find my place in the sun. And that touched him. I said, okay. And so now where to put me? He said, where do you want to go? I said, I don't mind anywhere. Khulna, Chittagong, Dhaka, Multan, Lahore, anywhere. So they said, okay, you go to our textile, our woolen textile mill in Lawrencepur, in district Attak. Okay, you send me there, I don't mind. So they sent me there. And after a few months, I just fell in love with the place. Here I was what, 25, 26. They made me the managing director. Wow. At that age. And I just loved the place. There was so much work to do. I would be involved in the mill, going to the mill at 1 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock at night, and I just poured out my energy onto learning how to run a mill. I knew nothing about how to make a fabric, knew nothing. Yarn, I knew nothing. I remember that first meeting we had. I had with all the officers, the mill's manager and the general manager. And I remember I said to them, look, I know nothing about how to make a cloth. But I promise you, I will work hard, and I promise you I will learn. And I can put certain things on the table, on marketing, on production methods and this and that, because I've learned it at Columbia. But I promise you that I will work and learn from you people. And it was a lovely, lovely interaction. It was a great, great experience, because in the outside world, the movement against Ayub Khan had started. Workers were militant. Militancy started. At Lawrencepur, we had one strike after another strike, and here I was, a youngster, facing the full brunt of industrial labor militancy.
And this was essentially left-wing sort of socialist militancy?
Yeah.
And were they operating under a union, or was this more loosely placed?
Were they?
Were they operating under a union, or was this more loosely placed?
No, it was a strong union, very strong union. And at that time, all outsiders, professional unionists, would go and capture various unions. And ours was they really, it was an outsider that came and instigated them.
Right.
And finally, it took me about a year or so to get rid of that outsider. And then peace came.
Right.
And then we had a lovely relationship with the union, a very good relationship. And so...
How different do you think the work culture was back in the day? How different do you think the work culture was back in the day compared to how it is now?
Well, actually, the labor laws in those days, when I read them, I said, my God, these labor laws are not fair. They're heavily loaded in favor of management. So it was obvious that it's not going to last long. And when the militancy came, labor was not allowed to go on strike. It was banned. You can go through the process, but you can't strike. And then I remember I came to Lahore, and they asked me to. There was a government commission on whether workers should have the right to strike. And many of the business friends, they said they should not have the right to strike. And they asked me, should they have the right to strike? I said, yes. That's the balance. If workers cannot go on strike, then where's the balance? Then it's all favored to management. Management must know that if the threat of strike is real, and they can get hurt too. So those laws were changed. Newer industrial relations ordinance came out, and they had the right to strike. And I was, I felt it very, very strongly because we had a lot of militancy. Fantastic learning experience. And once we finished, all the strikes were over. This was around February, March 1971. So by that time, ours was okay. But Lawrencepur was an experience because I could apply the marketing skills that I had learned at Columbia. And so we went into newer products. I said to myself, and I should tell people, that, hey, in Pakistan, they don't understand market segmentation. I said, what? They don't understand it. And here we were. I'd been taught by an excellent professor at Columbia what market segmentation is all about. And so you could see it. So it was nice to, we came out with new products, ladies' fabrics, and so many other segments in the market. So that was overall a wonderful experience. I loved it. I really, meeting the workers, meeting their children, walking around we had a colony there, checking that is everything fine with them. It was wonderful.
And Lawrencepur was essentially providing, selling these products to, were they exporting or were they for the Pakistani market? And were they essentially...
Very little was exported, very little. It was 95% local market.
Right. And you're mentioning you finally were able to relax in March 1971, and then we know what happened in December. How did that impact you yourself, and then how did that impact the entire family business?
Oh, that was a dramatic thing, because when the things happened in East Pakistan, obviously, because our unit was such a big unit, the Kanafali paper mills and the Kanafali rayon and Kanafali chemicals, that became a focus of the attack. And we had to get our family people out. We got them all out. And then, it really impacted the family. Because all of a sudden, when East Pakistan went and Bangladesh was created, all our units were taken over by the new Bangladesh government. It was classified as enemy property, and they just
took over. And you never got any dime
nothing.
Not even from the government of Pakistan.
Nothing. And what made matters worse, shortly as we were licking our wounds from East Pakistan, then here in West Pakistan, Bhutto nationalized industries. So it was.
Oh my God.
So all of a sudden, we just shrank. Family members were all there. There's so many family members who were all busy in different units. Suddenly,
With the nationalization, all of it was taken away.
yeah. No, well, let me put it this way. We lost very heavily in East Pakistan. In West Pakistan, we lost, but not as heavily as the Fancy family, the Saigo family, Adamji. They lost more.
Because they mostly had their interest in West Pakistan, is that so?
Yeah, because at that time, textiles was not nationalized. Everything else was.
I see.
So we were lucky that we had foreign investment in our fertilizer. So so fertilizer was not touched. Amin family lost their national refinery, which was the mainstay of the family.
Yeah.
So it was a dramatic. And then a couple of years later, the banks were nationalized, and then flour mills, rice mills were nationalized, ginning factories were nationalized. It was quite a.
Were the original families paid off for were the original families paid off for the businesses that the government took over?
No, yes, they were given bonds that they could sell at a discount in the market, and they did.
Was it enough to cover for the?
No. It was a pretty. It was taken away at a very discounted. And then that began and then the other big thing that Pakistan lost is that all the families, family members started leaving for Canada and America. So we lost a lot of our
business DNA, essentially.
Absolutely. That was a very major loss. So that's what it was. And for me, a dramatic turn came in 1972 when my uncle Ahmed Dawood said to me that, look, I want you to be transferred to Lahore because we're having problems with our Hercules partner, and we think that you are the best to be there and try to solve it. So I came over. I left Lawrencepur. It was a very, very sad day because I just didn't want to leave it. And then so I came to Lahore and trying to sort out the problems between the partners.
And what business was this? And what was the partnership?
Fertilizer.
Right.
It was a urea fertilizer plant. It just came on stream at the end of 71. And so I joined in 72. And as luck would have it, fate, whatever, now I got an exposure to things that I had never had an exposure to before. There was no labor issues, were not in the same. But I spent 90% of my time on international partners relationships, corporate issues, how to solve corporate matters, reading a lot of agreements, which I never had to do before. You were all in all. Now you have a partner, American partner, you have issues that you had to sort out with them. And so it gave me a complete different perspective. I have forgot textiles was behind me, forget being a big boss in a rural setting. You are now cog in the wheel with a galaxy of Americans working there. And it took 1 year, 1 year and a few months to solve the problem. With our partners, it was solved. I became the managing director of Dawood Hercules. And so I spent the rest of my 8 years being the managing director. And that period opened many, many new avenues for me. And I started, my engineering
Journey.
came to the fore.
Right.
I started asking questions. What about this? What about this? What about this? Learning drawings, detailed engineering, process engineering. What type of various types of materials, alloys. And you started learning about construction. You learned about maintenance. And so little did I know at that time that I was being prepared for the next phase of my life. I didn't know. And that fateful day came.
Before we move on to the next chapter, Dawood Hercules fertilizer, is that what converted into Engro eventually?
No, it now is converted into Fatima. It was sold to the Fatima Group. Hussein bought into Engro, finally took control of Engro, and so he sold that, Dawood Hercules, to the Fatima family.
Oh, so Engro existed separately.
It existed separately. At that time, when I was there, there were, in the private sector, there were only two fertilizer plants. One was by Engro, and the other was ours.
Right.
So those were the only two.
Right.
So I was there in Dawood Hercules, and then you could see that differences were growing within the family.
Right.
And then, so a time came when the family broke up. Family broke up. I left Dawood Hercules. And then, little did I know that was, my father said to me that, okay, now you're leaving Dawood Hercules. What are you going to do? I said, I'll go into engineering. I said, okay.
And what year was this?
Actually, 77. It's a little before I left. We had actually formed the company because I could see the writing on the wall. And people were advising me that, look, it's going to break. Get yourself ready. And I did. So here I was in DESCON, and myself and 4 engineers from Dawood Hercules.
Right. It's sort of like a startup.
It was a startup. We were in a room, maybe just the size of this room, and myself and 4. We started to think, okay, क्या करना है, कहाँ जाना है, किस तरह से काम करना है.
And what was the idea? What was the core idea at the time? Essentially, the problem that you were solving. Were you going to provide engineering solution to industries?
Yes, right. You see, what it was is, at that time, Pakistan mein, us waqt, civil engineering was developed.
Right.
Gammon was a company here, McDonald's, Leighton was another company. So civil engineering, they were reasonable companies. Mechanical, electrical, none. I said, this is an opportunity. Because there is nobody in the mechanical side. Why should I compete with the civil? मैं civil से साथ compete नहीं करूँगा. Let me go into mechanical. So I said, okay, let's do mechanical. What in mechanical? करना क्या in mechanical? So mechanical erection, mechanical on the design engineering side, manufacturing side, all in that area. So we suddenly started, and business started to come in because there was no proper organized mechanical company. There were companies, but they were all one-man shows, a small takeover.
Consulting of sorts.
Yeah, but not with us. So we came in.
And the idea really was any business group would come in and say, listen, we want to set up a dairy processing plant. And so you help us identify the machinery and the processes?
No, they would identify the machinery. They would bring the machinery in, and then they would come to us. Here are the drawings.
Set it up.
Set it up. So we had the construction drawing. We knew we understood those drawings. And we would erect it. We erected a sugar mill. We erected a very small refinery. So we started moving in that direction. And what was it? Whenever you get into something, always an opportunity comes. And for our opportunity was the huge national refinery expansion in Karachi. And I said, this is it. Now we must go and do whatever is necessary to try to win this job. And many people told me, Razak, don't do it. It's too big. It's too big. You will not be able to do it, and you'll fall flat on your face. Take a small part of it, not the whole thing. I said, no. I've got the energy. I can do it. There's nothing else to do. I'll just sit and get this job done. And Alhamdulillah, we won it. We only took the mechanical. We didn't touch the civil. And that was the job.
That kickstart the company.
Put us on the map.
Right.
Then everybody knew that we had a large project. It was a 3-year project. So we now had the cash flow. We had the amount of work. Absolutely fine. And we went along. Then I said, look, I remember that day, and I called all the senior managers, and I said, look, we've won this job. This was 1981. You people handle it, because I want to tell you something else that I want to do. They said, what do you want to do? I said, we've got to go global. Pakistan, I want to have a company where Pakistan is too small for us. We must go international. And so I spent a lot of my time in Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, coming and going all the time. And we won our first job in 1982. So by 82, we were now in Abu Dhabi and Pakistan, going well. It was very interesting that the first job we got, I went to the Arab to ask him to award the job to us because we were the lowest. He said, we're the lowest bidder. Give it to us. He said, brother, you have bid 30% less than everybody else. You must have come to me to say, don't give it to you. I said, no, I've come to tell you to give it to us. He says, will you make money? I said, no. He says, you want the job, you're going to lose money. Are you sure you want it? I said, yes, that's why I've come. I've come all the way from Lahore to tell you to give it to us. It's okay, you're the lowest. You can have it. Send your man tomorrow and I'll sign it. And he did. We signed the agreement, we signed the contract. It's a very small job. Did it. Went back to him. He said, MashaAllah, you did a good job. Very good job. Did you make money? I said, well, I told you I'd lose money. But actually, I broke even. He said, oh, MashaAllah. Then he said, now you did such a good job, you are pre-qualified for all the work we offer. I said, sir, I was just buying my admissions ticket. And he had a big laugh. I said, that's all I was doing. I don't care about making money on the first job. I want to settle down here. And that was 30 years ago. And we're still there. Then we got the next job and the next job and the next job, and then we were off.
Is there any other exciting job that you got after that you really, or was it more operational after that, more or less?
No, it was, then there was another strategic moment that came. He says, yeah, we're only in mechanical. It's now time we provided a one-stop shop. So we offer civil, mechanical, electrical. Wow. So we offered that, and more work came. Then years go by, and we say, that's not enough. Let's go into the turnkey project, EPC as we call it. Engineering, procurement and construction, where you need a lot of brain power. Because in the other way, somebody would give you a drawing and you just do it. Now you had to make the drawing. You had to do it. Fine. EPC, okay, that's the new word. Before that, we used to call ourselves an integrated engineering company, which would do mechanical, civil, electrical. Now we're gone into the world of EPC. And Unilever came to us. We want a hydrogen plant. And for their Ramia Khan operations, the ghee factory at Ramia Khan. Says, can you do it on a complete turnkey basis? I said, yes, we can do it. Got the engineers together. Well, can we do it? We had a smart engineer. He says, we can do it. So did it. What happened was that we gave Unilever a Cadillac and charged the price of a Suzuki for it. We lost our shirt on it. I said, fellas, don't worry. Don't worry. We're just entering a new era of EPC. We gave them, because every time When it came to material, when it came to valves, pumps, motors, we gave them the best. Because we said, oh no, we can't affect our reputation. Our reputation is at stake. Put the best material. And we did. The price went up and up and up. And that plant is still running. It's a fabulous plant because we over-designed it. We paid. So it was interesting. We learned a very bitter lesson. But that got us into
EPC, essentially.
EPC.
Right.
And then we started to do, and then we got partners from overseas, and that area went up.
And so now DESCON is a global enterprise, essentially?
Yes. We're now operating in Oman, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. We were in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and our recent acquisition is in South Africa. So we're now in Africa.
You're now getting into Africa.
Yeah, we took a decision 2 years ago. And then we said, look, we've got to get into Africa. So our marketing people started scanning the whole of Africa. And we saw this opportunity in South Africa. So we have a facility there now. A lovely facility. It's really, really good. It was a group of young engineers. Well, they were young at that time. They started the company. Now they've all grown, all of them have grown old, and they want to sell it. So we said, okay, give it to us. We'll take it.
Interesting. Did you diversify into other areas as well, or was engineering or DESCON your full, like everything?
That was it was engineering. We went into chemicals. We went into power. And all of it was, the common thread in everything was engineering.
Right.
Now, while I was away in the government, my sons took the decision that we will now go really diversify. So we're now into agriculture. We have two agriculture companies. One is micronutrients.
Right.
It's something that the big fertilizer plant, they can't do. We can do it.
Right. So it's production of that? Production of that?
It's a production, but it's more of a mixing. You've got to be, and you've got to know what is the soil at that X point, and tailor make.
Interesting.
For the nutrients for that soil, and then it might be different for Multan, different from Raimia Khan.
Much more optimized, basically.
Absolutely. So you get a better yield.
Very interesting.
So we've gone into that. We've gone into marketing agricultural products.
Mm-hmm.
And we've now set up the DESCON research farm. So we're now
really going big on agriculture.
Yeah, we're in a big way, in a big way, starting to pour a lot of our energies into it and funds to now we're going to get into farm management.
Who's the brain behind that? Because I'm really into agriculture, trying to understand that, and I'd love to talk to that person.
My son is the best. He's absolutely absorbed by it.
Really?
Absorbed. He went to, he goes overseas to various conferences to learn, talk to people, understand any food conferences, any agricultural issues, and he goes. And he's the one who's setting that direction.
Right.
My elder boy looks after the engineering.
Right.
And he's gone into the new area. I'm very excited about it because engineering, I regret in a sense, I've put a lot of focus on engineering. So engineering grew. I wish I had put a little less and started these other things earlier.
Yeah.
So now we're a very, very diversified group, and DESCON has now become, we're celebrating our 45th year. So the brand is there, the brand is recognized. That's been our strategy.
Makes sense.
Another thing that I will say, and I think your viewers and listeners would appreciate this, or they may pick up some ideas from it, and that is the biggest problem in a family business is the transition of power from one generation to the next.
So essentially the succession process.
Succession process, absolutely. Luckily for me, it happened like that by circumstances. When Imran Khan asked me to join the government, and I finally said yes, I called everybody in the company. Everybody in a big hall. We all got together. And I announced that, look, at 7 o'clock today, I will go through the gates of the company and I will not come back. It's gone. After this meeting, I will sign all the documents and I'm handing over everything to the two boys and the management. We've got a good management. We've got a very strong management. So now it's up to you people. I will not come here. I will not enter this premises again. So, ipso facto, succession took place in 24 hours. I left that gate and I never came back until Imran Khan's government was voted out. I came back. I said, look, I'm not coming back to that same position. I've handed it to you people. From whatever I see, you've done a good job. Carry on. So I'm now not on the board.
So you've completely cut yourself out.
Gone. I'm not the chairman of any of the companies. I'm not even on the board of the companies. I don't attend the strategic meetings. I say to my sons and to the management, look upon me as a reference library. A reference library goes to nobody. We go to the reference library. So if you want to ask any questions, any advice, you're free to come. You're free not to come. That's your call. I will not call you, iska kya ho raha hai? Ye kyun ho raha hai? That's your problem. Mera problem nahi hai. Aap log sambhalo.
So what are you doing now? Are you fully retired then? Just
No, I can't. I would die if I retired. There's still a lot of work with LUMS. I'm still the pro-chancellor. That is another story which I will just mention. I'm now looking after our own foundation.
Okay.
And I must say, it is such an exciting thing. I now don't spend any time, any of my energies earning money. I spend all my energy spending money.
What's the foundation called?
It's called BARD Foundation. BARD is an acronym for Bilqis and Abdul Razak Dawood
Right.
Foundation.
And what all are you guys doing under the foundation?
Obviously, education is one big area. But the other real big area, and I'm so excited about it and spend so much time, it absorbs you for at least 6 hours a day, is the what we've written in our foundation is, if any Pakistani, men, women, anybody who has the spirit of adventure and have the courage and determination to get to the international level in sports, we are with you. We will support you. We don't do anything on the health sector. We don't. Many people are in there. Nobody is in sports.
Yeah.
Nobody.
I mean, I've had three different. I've had an MMA star. He's competing globally. Complained about lack of funding or lack of support. I've had a tennis star, number 2 in Pakistan. Same problem. I've had an esports star. Same problem. So I think it's a very hugely neglected area.
Ask them to come and see us.
I shall. I will.
Please do. We're looking for people. And let me give you an example. What happened? Where are we right now? Excuse me. There was a Pakistani lady, a banker, mother of 2. She came. She bumped into me in Dubai when I was in the government and said that, look, I hear that you are supporting the spirit of adventure. I said, yes, go to Lahore. I'm not involved in it. Go to Lahore, meet them, and if you can convince them, they'll support you. She comes to Lahore, and she is a mountaineer, Naila Kiani. She said, I can climb K2. Will you fund me? They said, yes. So we funded her. She did it. And here we are, a success story. Now we're asking Naila to please go from university to university, encouraging young people that if I can do it, everybody can do it. So that's one good success we've had. And now another lady has come, and we're going to evaluate her. She says that she can bike down the mountain from a very high position. Okay, explain to us what we can do. If she can do it, we'll back her. A very young girl, she must be 9 or 10 years old, a tennis player. And her father says she is a real star. Will you back her? Okay, we'll back her. So she won all the tournaments, under 12, under 11 tournaments in Pakistan, all of them. And then the father said, we've got to progress. You've got to support us to go overseas. Let's go. She went and joined the Turkmenistan tournament, won. Kazakhstan tournament, won. She beat them all. She goes to Turkey, beats them all there. This young little girl. And then there's a big American company, IMG, who do this at an international level in a big way. They spotted her. So they says, okay, will you support her in America? We need you to support her. If you guarantee support for 2 years, we would put her in our academy and train her and make her a real star. I said, done. We'll give her the money. And then they said, okay, we've selected 24 young girls around the world, and we're sending them to Greece for a tournament. All 24 will compete with each other. They're all future stars. She goes to Athens in the tournament, gets to the semifinals and loses. I said, fantastic. You're up against the big boys.
Yeah, like the world-class players all from all over, and she's in the semis.
So today, she is now settled down in Florida at the IMG Academy. I went to see, I said, I have to go and see the academy myself. Is it okay? And this and that. And we went. And then there was a tournament in New York. Low, not a high level, or a medium level tournament. She won that. So now there are 2 tournaments coming, slightly higher. One in November, this month, next week or so, and then one in December. If she wins the December one, which is a big one, it's called the Orange Bowl. If she wins that, wo ho gaya. Then it's the beginning,
right?
Of, but we will still have to support her for at least another 5 years, because she's only 11.
Yeah.
You can't.
I mean, I can't even imagine an 11-year-old living all on her own. Really?
No, the whole family's there.
Oh, the whole family's there.
We funded the whole family. The father, mother, and her brother. So it's a big support. They have a car there, this, that. They're living like an American family.
Wow.
It's a big support. And now IMG is doing this as a business. For IMG, that girl, Hania is her name, is a startup.
Yeah.
They're pumping money into her, training her. They've given her about 7 or 8 coaches. 4 coaches on tennis, 1 on nutrition, 1 on physical development, 1 on mental development.
Wow. And she's from Pakistan. I mean,
she's from Pakistan. And, when I saw the academy, it was mind-blowing. Phenomenal. That's when you realize that wo jo bichara gali mein khelta hai, how can he do it against this
world class? Yeah.
World class? You can't do it. This is something else.
Yeah.
And now they're looking at her muscles and this and that, make her strong here, give her the right food.
It's essentially, I mean,
it's a business.
Yeah.
It's a business. So we have another boy in Florida. We have a girl in Spain. Then a guy from Gilgit comes to us. I run a small little football club in Islamabad. If will you fund me to go to the Real Madrid School of Coaching? Well, that sounds promising. Okay. So he's soon be there.
Right.
And the word is getting out now. And as more and more people come forward, you see, sports is another thing that I have to do. And I've told the people I'm going to do it, but when and how, I have to study it. पाकिस्तान में वो कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है टू गिव ए स्पोर्ट्स स्कॉलरशिप.
Yeah.
यहाँ तो है ही. अमेरिका में है, गेट स्पोर्ट्स स्कॉलरशिप्स, go to university on a sports scholarship. I want to start that. If somebody comes up to me that I'm now in Punjab University or here or there, and my main forte is to do sports, I'll get educated, but I want sports. Give me a sports scholarship. I'll do it. Why not? एक हो जाएगा, फिर और आएंगे, and then it builds up. So there's an issue of how to organize. Sports is very badly organized. We're trying to get that done. There's a lot to do.
Do you think, I mean, obviously there's that element where you're helping out through the foundation, really helping build those building blocks that could create a sustainable sort of a sports infrastructure, or at the very least the right talent that's going to build that. But then there's also a question of really, like you mentioned, IMG, right? For them, it's a business, and businesses tend to be much more scalable and much more sustainable.
Yeah, of course.
Hardcore businessman. Why do you think people haven't been able to invest in sports as a business? There's so much opportunity. People in this country, particularly when you look at cricket, for example, we have that example where PSL now is where all of the advertisers are putting their money in. They're waiting all year for PSL. And it's really just about getting the right, what would you call it, promoters from outside of Pakistan, sitting with them, identifying how do they work around consumer psychology, because it's not, I mean, I know so many Pakistanis who go from Pakistan to college in the US, have never seen sort of football leagues. 6 months later, they're part of it because there is some sort of a affinity either with their city or with their state or with their college, where they feel connected. Sports, more than anything, for the viewer, is a way to feel connected to a community, right? And
absolutely.
And in a lot of ways, Pakistan, we are all about the sport. We are unable to convert that into a viewing experience. I feel like one can do a lot of other things, absolutely, but in a way, what PSL did for cricketing talent by really understanding the business aspect of it, now it's on an auto. The brands are coming in, the leagues are finding the talent, they're building the talent. Choti si misal, I was speaking to a tennis player, number 2 in Pakistan. He was just about to go to, I think, Armenia. He had the next tournament in. And he kept on talking about government funding and how government needs to keep on funding. And I'm just like, sure, that's one way. But also you have to understand that this is an underdeveloped country or a developing country. And so there's only going to be a chunk that's going to go there. Alternatively, why haven't we had someone come in and create a league event, find someone from India, go to Dubai. Every year, there's an India-Pakistan happening. You keep on talking about wars. But this is a really productive way of identifying who's the best, and every year. And the first time the Pakistanis, and I know the Pakistani is going to lose because the Indians are really big on tennis. The first time he's going to lose, every single Pakistani is going to be like, why did he lose? Let's pool in whatever money we have, either get a better player or send this guy to a better academy, make sure he's ready for next year, because next year we have to beat them. And so that sort of rivalry, if you can't take it international, bring it to local. Islamabad versus Lahore versus Karachi. There's just an incredible opportunity there for businessmen to make money, for athletes to be developed, for the youth to have an entertainment outlet. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get into that or really been able to solve that problem. What do you think?
Absolutely. You've really hit the nail on the head. You bilkul sahi hai. And let me tell you, whatever we're doing of funding this Hania, funding this lady to climb K2, to do this, it's not going to have a big impact. We have to do, people like myself have to do something that will have a big impact on sports overall. So we're getting a group of people together. We've been working on it for the last 3 to 4 months. And let me tell you what is the type of thing we're doing. Let's pick football. Okay, if we want football, let's go and make a survey. How many football fields are there in the country? Let's start only from Karachi and Lahore. How many football fields are there? Good, average, just a plain field, so what? And I was surprised that there are adequate number of playing fields, but they're just dormant there. They're not used. वापदा के पास है, आर्मी के पास है, schools के पास है, local clubs भी बन गए हैं. And so I thought, okay, now let's organize like a Premier League. Get the clubs in. And doesn't matter what the level is. Doesn't matter. Buri standard, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Start to kare na?
Start karo. And then you see the money will start revolving around it. Somebody somewhere, Viari mein, Multan mein, will pick up a club.
Yeah.
And then we'll start. So that's what we're trying to do. And we've had several meetings, and inshallah, we're now getting quite close to putting all the legal, financial, or governance structure and everything to make it transparent, open. Anybody wants to come in. Anybody wants to leave if you want to. And we'll have a whole structure. It'll take about another 6 months, but it'll be developed. I wanted to develop. Well, I'm not so much worried about doing it immediately. I want it to be done well.
Right.
तो फिर वो सही मानो में structure
foundation strong होगी ना, and then वो फिर institution बन सकता है potentially.
सही हो गए, we'll be ready to go.
Right.
So that is something that our own foundation, BARD Foundation, is doing. We're involved in education, so that's something that I got involved back in 1975. In 1975, I offered my services. There was the Punjab MBA program at Punjab University. So I said, I volunteered to become a member, adjunct faculty. So I used to teach courses. I taught.
Really?
I taught a full courses from 75 to about 81. It was really enjoyable. I loved it. And then myself and Babar Ali we started LUMS. And so it's been, education there is no better equalizer than education. And the other good equalizer is sports. Somebody's good at sports, he'll make the money. He'll be an equalizer. Be good at sports. Be good at follow education. Obviously, education is the most important. So that's
Makes sense.
what it is.
I'm gonna sort of switch the conversation, and we are, short in time here as well. So I'm gonna switch towards that side. I know that you're really focused on Africa. You mentioned with DESCON as well. Tell me about what you see there, because most Pakistanis, they're not looking at Africa right now.
When I was in the government, I looked at the three things that I really spent a lot of time on. One was export, one was regional connectivity, and the third was industry development.
Mm.
On Africa, when we did our analysis in the Ministry of Commerce, Africa is we all talk about, look at India as a huge market.
Mm.
Africa is the same size as far as population is concerned. It's almost 1.2 billion people in Africa. So I took a very large business delegation to Kenya. We were there for 3 days, and just to open the eyes of our business people, we took people from engineering, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, and leather. Some people from textiles came, but it was not many. So here we were sitting in Kenya, and I said, look at the opportunity that we have. After that, unfortunately, because of COVID, movement stopped. So as soon as COVID was over, we went to Nigeria. And Nigeria, again, a remarkable market, and Africa. And so we're seeing our exports to Africa grow. Nowhere near what is the potential. And whether you get into Egypt or you get into Tanzania or Botswana or even to the Francophone countries, but its potential is tremendous. And now Africa is broken up into 3 or 4 regional economic grouping, and now they're going to have one for the whole of Africa. So it doesn't matter where you are, you can ship your goods right across the continent. So it's something that's tremendous. One is Africa, and the other is the Central Asian republics.
That's where the regional connectivity essentially is important.
Absolutely. I made several visits to Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Kyrgyzstan, and in order to get our connectivity, there are 4 agreements that you have to do. And getting those agreements done, that's what takes time. You have a PTA, Transit Trade Agreement. You have agreement on customs. You have what they call a TIR protocol. The TIR protocol is once you are under that protocol, a Pakistani truck can go anywhere.
Right.
And you're not stopped at the borders.
Right.
You just go straight through, as they do in Europe.
Right.
We experimented with one truck. It went all the way from Pakistan to Moscow. Nobody stopped it. We've tried another one. It went from Pakistan, Iran, into Turkey. No issue. So, but it requires a lot of effort to get all the customs protocol in place. So at the border, everybody knows what has to be done, that if this truck is a truck under the TIR, it goes through. And they have the documentation done. Because there are 3 documents. Document for the truck to go through, document for the goods in the truck, and document for the driver and his assistant. So there's a special passport for them, special paperwork, and it just goes straight through. So, and then when you look at Africa and the Central Asian Republic were saying, They want to send goods to Africa. Your best port is Karachi. Africans were saying, we want to send our stuff to where is the contact point? Karachi. So that whole area, and it will require, for it to really flourish, would take about another three years to really get it going. The movement has started, but it's not as smooth because we have to make a big investment on the custom house, the parking area for trucks, all the formality areas at the Turkmen border. We've got to do the same thing at Desmir on the border of Uzbekistan. All these investments have to be made. And then it can really... See, we're now doing maybe 100 trucks a day. But that's nothing. We've got to get it way, way up. And you've got to... I personally went to the border with Afghanistan, and I walked that whole area. There's a bottlenecks there. A truck can't turn because the road is too narrow. You've got to do this, you've got to do that. And we have to put money there. Afghans will not put their money. We'll have to put the money. Doesn't matter. It helps us.
Makes sense.
So, immense potential.
So I understand the regional connectivity. Now you've explained that context. Tell me a little bit about exports, because that's just been sort of the...
Exports.
We're stuck, right? In Pakistan, we talk all about exports.
Our biggest problem in exports is it just does our government for years, for the last 30 years, and even now, have not understood that an export-led growth strategy is the only way we can move forward. Our biggest problem is that we don't earn enough dollars. How can we earn that? Is through an export growth strategy. And whenever we focused on it, it's moved. It moved in the last 3 years. It moved. Textiles grew at 26%. Our IT grew at about 46%. We have to put focus. And there are many, many, many steps that we have to understand, which we don't understand, unfortunately. Neither does members of the cabinet understand. Neither do the Ministry of Finance understand, nor does the FBR understand. Because what you do to increase exports, you will have to compromise on some parts of your revenue. The more taxes you put on raw materials and things, it's a bigger anti-export bias. Get rid of those taxes, which we did. I myself went through the whole process, and I was very grateful to the finance ministers. They allowed, now most of the raw material in Pakistan comes duty-free.
Right.
But they're now putting other taxes, additional customs duty, this, that. It requires a very, very comprehensive export policies. We also, do you know that, and this takes at least 5 years to do, we do not belong to any regional organizations.
Trade organizations?
We're not part of ASEAN. We are part of the worst regional one, SAARC with India. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
We're not part of.
I was actually seeing BRICS. Everybody in BRICS, a lot of countries are beginning to want to get into it. I was seeing Pakistan was missing there. There's lots of countries from Africa going there as well.
Yes.
I think the only functional one that I can see is the SCO that we've recently joined.
Yeah, there are good regional trade blocks. And now the ones that are coming up in Africa, we must get into those. While we wrote to them that we want to be connected with you. But it requires a lot of effort to get into these regional blocks and have a relationship with them. So exports can be done. Question is, which are our best products for exports? Products where the raw material is within the country. Agricultural products, cement, glass, because we have the raw material here. Textiles, because we have the cotton. So there are many, many, many products that we can do, provided we develop it in a sustainable manner. The one that's going very well is rice. We are over $2 billion.
Per annum of rice.
Rice. Huge. It's huge. Then, but for example, what is we have problems of geographical, there's a concept called geographical indication. So basmati is ours. We never registered it. India goes and register it. So now we have to fight them. That look, basmati belongs jointly. You grow basmati, we grow basmati. And inshallah we win that case. So finally we got the laws in. Now the laws are in about geographical indication. We have many, many things. Whether it's a Multani tile, whether it's the Peshawari chappals, they belong to us. Nobody can use that brand. It belongs to the people of Pakistan. So now we've started registering them. You see? When I joined the government this time, I saw Ralph Lauren advertising Peshawari chappals. So I wrote to them, yeah, you can't use that.
Yeah.
Just show me where you've got your geographical indication. We didn't have the laws.
Right.
So we've got to get the laws in place. Okay? And we now have maybe 20. India has about 2,000 or 3,000. Germany has something like 16,000. All the Bavarian cakes and the Bavarian this and the Bavarian that. The Bavarian wines and this and that. It is all German product. You want to use that name, you pay them. See? It's so we're
beginning to go towards that.
and also, well, Pakistanis don't, now they're beginning to understand the value of a brand. So then there is a Madrid protocol. Finally, we got that activated. So if you register, for example, if Nisat wants to register under the Madrid protocol, he is automatically registered in 60 countries.
Oh.
Done. You just register there. We have now registered DESCON there. It is a Pakistani brand. So everybody must do it. So there's a lot of work that has to be done. We have to pay attention. Are we doing it from one government to the next to the next? We're not. See? And so We start activities for 2 years, 3 years, government changes, and it slows down. Another one comes, it'll pick up, and then it will slow down. That's where we are. Whereas in India, they've been persistently doing it, and so that's why they've gone very far. The amount of good quality products we have. Our potatoes is one of the one particular brand of potatoes. Unique, and people are willing to pay premium prices for it. But how do we get the whole ecosystem? Those are the questions.
Makes sense. And this is going to be the last question on this side, but you spoke about agriculture, and I think that the potential there with increasing yields, with the potential food crisis that's supposedly growing all across the world, I think there's the incredible potential there. But with a huge population, young population, you have to really begin to identify what a lot of these young people would be doing. And so you can, with services, you see, digital opportunities and IT jobs, and they're definitely growing. But one area that I feel like in Pakistan has been unable to really figure itself out has been the industries. Right? For most part, either even if you have industries like the auto manufacturing industry, it's mostly just assembling, taking stuff from China, assembling it, branding it. It's even pharmaceutical. I was talking to the other day, and they said most of our active ingredients are coming from abroad, and
Yes.
it's sort of sad because you have at least a segment of it, seemingly educated population who's seemingly can solve these problems and reverse engineer the way that China did, right? Again, it will reduce the cost on the dollar for you, and also potentially can make you competitive for exports as well. Whenever we think about exports, are we only focused on textile and agriculture and maybe IT, maximum maybe a little chunk of surgical goods and sporting goods? Why can't we begin to imagine export of pharmaceuticals, export of automobile, for example? I think when I see the African market, there's an incredible opportunity for countries like China to be investing in Pakistan, because you have a comparatively low cost population and a young population that can really churn out a lot of these sort of comparatively lower value goods for these developing economies that need those goods. And since China is moving to more advanced technologies, but उसका हमें कोई एवोल्यूशन होती नज़र नहीं आई. इवन हमारे जो बड़े बिजनेसेस हैं, शायद जिस तरह मैं आपकी कहानी सुन रहा हूँ, तो वो शायद थोड़े से कंजर्वेटिव हो गए पिछले 30 सालों में. इतनी मार खाई है कि वो कहते हैं कि यार व्हाई शुड आई इन्वेस्ट इन दिस, मैक्सिमम मैं बाहर से मंगवाऊंगा, उसको इकट्ठा करके ब्रांड करके बेच दूंगा. बट बियॉन्ड दैट, रियली द हार्ड स्टफ, जिस तरह आप डेस्कॉन में इंजीनियरिंग कर रहे हैं, इंजीनियरिंग के साथ वो आपको बहुत कम नजर आ रहा है.
You see, because if you have a structure in the government of taxes where it is profitable to just bring in something from outside, do some little work on it, and then sell it, and it becomes profitable, then there's something wrong with the model. The business model is wrong. You see? What you have to do is, and these were some of the changes that I did, there's not a lot more has to be done. Take, for example, auto. Now, a Pakistani car, the maximum deletion is 40%, 45%. In the case of a tractor, it's almost 100%. So tractors are good, and then they're being exported.
Right.
You will never be able to export any auto unless you start taking up the level of deletion. In the case of a motorcycle is now fast approaching 85% deletion. There's simpler part. There's no, the models don't change. So it goes on. In the case of the car, are we as a nation prepared to say, okay, we will live with the same design of the car for the next 10 years, 15 years? We're not. There's a pressure, नई models चाहिए, नई models चाहिए, तो फिर चलो नई models ले लो, but then you can't localize because you've got to do retooling, you've got to do all that. China, I checked with them. When they first came into the car, for 15 years, it was only that car, full stop.
No other car.
No
you could only
other
buy one car in China.
You drive that car. And I says, why, what was the point? He says, once we understood the car, once we understood every single part, once we were able to make every single part, once we were able to design every single part, once we were able to put in all the pieces, then we said, now let's design another car locally. Then do the retooling, and slowly it came up after that. We're not a long-term player. हमें तो अभी अभी चाहिए. And you soon see the Pakistan public say, ये क्या है, ये तो this is not good enough. We need more variety. We have such a huge variety of cars coming into Pakistan. We all see it on the roads every day. Why? India had the ambassador car for years. That's the way to do it. But Pakistan doesn't do that. We have become a consumption-led growth strategy rather than an export-led growth strategy. You will not be, we don't have the necessary amount of foreign exchange coming in. We can't do that. And so we run into trouble every so often.
Do you think that's a solvable problem though? Do you think that's a solvable problem? Do you think, with the right government or the right policies?
Of course it is.
It's not.
Of course it is. Of course. Yes, it can be done.
Okay.
But it takes time.
Takes time. Sir, I'm going to ask you, before I ask you the last question that I generally ask all of my guests, I do want to ask you, you've been through the East Pakistan, your family has been through the whole East Pakistan debacle. And then eventually, with the nationalization, then you did obviously end up, you worked at the fertilizer plant and then you set up DESCON. Do you ever regret coming back to Pakistan after your education? Do you think you would have performed better elsewhere?
Oh no, I have no regrets. Absolutely no regrets. When the nationalization took place, our seniors asked me, do you want to move to Canada? I said, no. I'd rather be here. And now my brothers went. They moved to Canada. I didn't. And just a few months ago, we were talking, and I was talking to my brother. I said, well, you moved to Canada, and I stayed here. Let's now evaluate which was the right decision. Children's education. His children got educated in Canada. Mine were here. I said, are my children are at any disadvantage? They went to American universities, as your children went to American universities. Your work in Canada, my work in Pakistan. your connections with the family, this, that, all the other issues. We concluded that the decision to stay in Pakistan was the correct one. I believe it. I wouldn't go. I think it was one of the best decisions I took to stay on in Pakistan. Yeah.
And the last question, I mean, to be very honest, and the audience knows it, this has been one of the most profound conversations I've had on the channel in 300 conversations. The story that you've told me really gave me a context of the past in a way that I've never heard before. So thank you for that.
Okay.
Based on everything that you've told me and based on everything that you've experienced, if I were to ask you, how do you see 28 years from now, the Pakistan of 2050, seeing what you've seen, seeing how things have evolved? Obviously, एक तो आपका स्कोप है जो आप देख रहे हैं दुनिया में, एक आप दुनिया को भी एब्जॉर्ब कर रहे हैं कि 60s में लोग कैसे थे, 70s में कैसे थे, 80s में कैसे थे, आज के लोग कैसे हैं, आज की दुनिया कैसी है. अगर एक जाहिर है कि अ गुड बिजनेसमैन जनरली वन जो कि वेरिएबल्स को देख के उसमें से एक सॉर्ट ऑफ एक इमेज बनाता है कि यार ये पोटेंशियल हो सकता है, एक सेंस बनाता है. तो आपकी सेंस क्या कहती है कि आज से 28 साल बाद का पाकिस्तान आपको कैसा नज़र आ रहा है?
नहीं, पाकिस्तान इस वक्त हालात अच्छे नहीं है by any standards. I honestly feel that how many countries have we known that have gone into almost despair before they've recovered and now are very strong countries. If you ask an American in 1865, he said the country is about to go. America was about to go. Civil War was on. Abraham Lincoln had been assassinated. It was the so-called blacks were now free. How can this country survive? But it survived. Look at Germany after World War I, about to finish. And many other countries have gone through this. China has gone through it. Russia has gone through it when the Bolsheviks revolution came. Fine, we are now, I feel, at a very, very crucial stage. There's going to be ups and downs. Well, it will be a low of a roller coaster. Our society may be ripped. But that's okay. That's part of the development of a country. We're only 75 years old. Nothing in the making of a nation. So I tell everybody, we must be hopeful about it, that we'll get through this political quagmire that we're in. We'll get through it. We should, whenever I talk to my friends, we always say, our job is to keep doing what we're doing. Don't stop. Fine. We will work things out. It will be difficult. It will be acrimonious. It will take time. But inshallah, we'll be through. And I have every hope that we will get through.
I hope, inshallah, we're able to see the culmination of that hope, in 2050. Sir, thank you so much for sharing all the insight and for giving us 2 hours of your time.
Okay.
It was 460 minutes. We're at the 1 hour 55 minute mark.
That much time has gone by.
It has.
I have a luncheon at 1 o'clock. I better move.
But thank you so much for sharing all the insight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And for all of you guys, thank you so much for watching. अगर आपको एपिसोड पसंद है अपने दोस्तों के साथ जरूर शेयर करिएगा. कमेंट सेक्शन में हमें आके बताएं कि what are your thoughts on Razak Saab's story about Pakistan of the past and also about industrialization, about Pakistan's exports and the problem thereof. इसी के साथ साथ यूट्यूब वाले लाइक का बटन दबाएंगे, एंगेजमेंट बढ़ेगी, ज़्यादा लोगों में हमारी कॉन्वर्सेशन पहुंचेगी, और ऑडियो प्लेटफॉर्म वाले सब्सक्राइब का बटन दबाएंगे, आने वाली एपिसोड्स की आपको नोटिफिकेशन मिलेगी। फेसबुक वाले नीचे दी गई हुई लिंक पर क्लिक करेंगे, TBT कम्युनिटी ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं, जिसमें हम डिफरेंट फीडबैक भी लेते हैं, गेस्ट रिकमेंडेशन भी देते हैं, आर्टिकल भी शेयर करते हैं, सो यू कैन जॉइन दैट एज वेल। इसी के साथ साथ यहाँ पर कहीं पर ईजी पैसा जैश कैश सादा पे आ रहा होगा। इफ यूड लाइक टू सपोर्ट द चैनल, वी एक्सेप्ट एनीथिंग फ्रॉम 1 rupee to as much as you'd like. It's the thought that counts. But anyways, this was Sayyid Muzamil Hasan Zaidi. You were watching Thought Behind Things. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.